Guess what, everyone? It's another episode of the Match Grade Podcast. With me again is Ed, because Matt is perpetually busy doing other things, apparently.
Doing Matt things.
Yeah, doing Matt things. Don't worry, guys. He isn't on like a hiatus like they do in sitcoms. He's not, he didn't ask for more money and we canceled his contract. So tonight, a little bit different move, but we're still talking gun stuff, right, Ed?
Sure are.
They say he carries a 45 because John Browning didn't create a 46. They say he carries it because it is God's caliber. Because it helped win 2 world wars. And just because sometimes you need more bore.
Quick ballistic suck. A lot of people believe it's what you hit them with. And it to an extent, that is true. But trust me, you can miss just as easy with a 45 as a 9 and still have to do follow-up shots.
Sure.
Right? You can still hit somebody in a non-vital area and not stop the fight.
Yeah.
It's just going to have a little more wound going on. But in the other end of things, a vital hit with a 22, a 9, or a 45 is still a vital hit.
Yeah.
Right? But it's the tissue disruption. It's the damage that happens is what really makes the difference. So, yes. Would you like to get hit by one of those little smart cars? Okay, there's a difference, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody running into something with a smart car like a squirrel, and the squirrel will survive, or getting run over by a tank. I think the tank's going to win on that one.
I really don't want to get hit by either. But,
No.
Or
I'm trying to go through life not worrying about that.
Like I got hit by a truck. How about you?
I got hit by a Prius.
So in reality, what are we talking about? We're talking about stopping power.
Yeah.
Right? Stopping power. A 45 does have more stopping power than a 9. It does create bigger wounds. It does show higher one-shot stop rates through history.
Especially because sometimes through war, military, conflicts and such, you don't always have time in order to have a follow-up shot. And especially when you're training marksmanship, and you have a lot of time to prep and you have the disposable rounds, it's like, well, let's put a lot more emphasis on accuracy and shot placement, and all things being the same, shot placement of a 9 and a shot placement of a 45 in the same place. 45 probably has a better chance of a one-shot stop.
Yep, it's gonna get some results. As a good friend of mine, mentor Dave Spalding says, they will notice, and you will have their undivided attention momentarily. So let's think about this, right? We got one-shot stop. It's better wounding capabilities, right? Because there's more mass to transfer energy into the target. What's something else that comes to mind when we're talking about the 45 caliber bullet that comes out of the 1911?
It's reliability.
Yeah.
It's tested and true. Someone's going to bring it up at some point, but two world wars at least. When you have a track record of 50 plus years of conflict.
Actually, it was used in 4 different types of conflicts in history. So
the better part of the 20th century has used the 1911, and people still do to this day throughout the world and in the U.S.
Yeah, it's still prevalent. Kind of cool. I remember the first time I shot one, I was like, wow, okay, that deserves some respect.
Yeah. And the 45 is technically a subsonic, caliber, just barely. But you might notice, shooting at the range a 9 or a 45, the 45 does kind of have that, more boom and thumpy, kind of feeling. Whereas you don't hear the supersonic crack, of a 9mm and that snap, kind of feeling that comes out of that gun.
Yeah. So, there's a crack and there's a bang. and the difference is, Ed, give us some of the history on the 1911.
So 1911, first of all, guys, was not created in 1911. It was actually patented in 1911, and it was adopted as part of the U.S. Army's small arms, program on March 29th. We're actually coming up on it. Served as the,
Yeah, I know.
couple days.
I think
Probably
Eleven's having a birthday soon.
when this episode comes out. Served as the U.S. military's, standard sidearm for World War I, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. So we're talking
4 major conflicts.
over 70 years of history.
Yeah.
So that is a really, really long time to not change platforms, because it does exactly what it was designed to do.
Yeah.
A few moments later.
So, guys, after the world's longest intro about the history of the 45 and the 1911, Dave,
Well, it does deserve it. Come on.
It sure
70
does.
years of history, all that history packed into that term. Come on, we could probably do a longer intro, but let's move on to what we need to do, right?
So, Dave, why are we here tonight anyway? What are the fans going to be listening to, and what are we going to be talking about?
Just different types of guns,
Yeah.
like different models.
Specifically, we're going to be talking about some of the best 45 ACP platforms that you might be interested in for home defense.
Yeah.
Concealed carry.
There you go. All of the guns we're going to talk about are carryable with the right gear. Some of them are a little big, but that's okay. With the right gear and the right concealment, you can make it work. Some of them are going to be harder to find because they've been discontinued because the manufacturers have moved on to different models. But yeah, in looking over our list here, I've got experience with all but maybe one of them, and I'll tell you, they're great guns to shoot.
I was going to say, between the two of us, I think we've shot most, if not all, on this list. We don't currently own all of them, but, we have shot them, and otherwise we wouldn't put them on the list anyway. So what are some of the reasons that somebody might want to carry 45 ACP over 9mm?
Well, if you get the right magazine set up, especially here in New York, we're limited to 10 rounds.
Yeah.
So why? Okay, we talked about ballistics in the intro, right? So why not carry 10 rounds of something that hits pretty freaking hard, okay, versus 10 rounds of something that can hit? Again, ballistic drawback, recoil management, all that stuff. But let's just think about it. You're throwing a near half-inch diameter bullet that weighs 230 grains at somebody. You'll have their attention.
Yeah.
And there'll probably be some results if you hit them.
Pound for pound. Yeah. What would you rather be carrying? 10 rounds of 9 or 10 rounds of 45 if you had just those two choices?
If everything else was equal, like, okay, my time on target, my recoil management, my hit and miss factors. Okay. I wouldn't have a problem carrying a 45 over a 9.
Yeah.
But I carry a 9 because I want to carry a 9. It's a free world still. I can do that.
Big one that, Matt actually enjoys is he likes taking a larger caliber when he goes camping or he's out in the woods, because you need more initial stopping power. I'm not saying, 45 ACP is, a bear stopper necessarily, but I'd much rather be carrying something large caliber that's going to make a big first impact, than something that's smaller that might have more penetration, but it's not going to feel it, initially.
Yeah. Or it won't disrupt as much tissue or cause as much damage as the initial hit from the 45 would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then final reason is we do have a lot of people who are former military, former law enforcement, or current military, current law enforcement. And it's an easy transition because that's their duty carry or their everyday carry or their, what they use when they're on the job. So when they come home and they transition, sometimes it's the same gun or sometimes, it's the same caliber, or a different gun, but they know that feel.
Yeah. So an interesting thing, we were talking about how many conflicts this 45 was using, right?
Yeah.
So according to people that I know that are still active, it's still being used in certain divisions and certain teams in the military.
Yeah.
And there are police departments that use it too.
Sure.
So this thing is still in continuous use. It didn't just stop being used after they were done with it in Vietnam. this thing's still got life.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it's going away anytime soon.
No, and it's fine, because it's a fine platform. It's a platform that works. So why don't we get into a few of the models?
Yeah.
Let's see what we got.
Let's kick it off with number one.
All right, number one, the Glock Model 21.
I compete with Glock because it's been proven in thousands of championships.
So this thing, it's a little bigger than a Glock 17. It's got a little more girth on the grip. It's a little fatter on the slide, because it's got to handle that God's caliber. But the interesting thing about it is, it actually shoots pretty smooth, and it has to do with the design of the Glock pistol and the polymer frame setup.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it has a really, really good, robust recoil spring. But if you guys didn't know this, the Glock pistols, the frame does flex a little bit. So that actually transfers some of the recoil energy into the frame and not just the slide and into you. So there's a little bit of flex in there. It's minute, but it's enough that it makes it a little better. I've done quite a bit of training with it. I've done quite a bit of shooting with it. And it is it's almost like if I could say something was a soft shooter, it kind of feels like that.
Yeah.
Because of just how the recoil's managed. Ed's going to have his usual Glock complaints.
Sure
like,
are.
It's ugly.
It's ugly as sin.
He doesn't like the squishy trigger.
Sure don't.
But again, that's a choice, right? That's a choice. He's a 1911 guy. He's other guy, other gun guy. But, in the Glock platform, once you learn to run that trigger, you get past the squishiness. That's what I've found.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that are just like, it's still squishy. Okay.
But that leads into the fact that it is, in fact, a Glock platform, and there's going to be no shortage of aftermarket support, parts, holsters, cases, any sights, things like that are going to be Glock specific. You get all the advantages, of your, Glock gun system and all the stuff that comes with it.
Yeah. It's interesting is because I've seen people refer to it as one of the best modern 45s.
Yeah.
Because of how it runs, how it works, how it operates. And of course there are detractors, just like with any brand. There are people that prefer, a certain model 45 over another certain model 45. Okay. Shoot what you're comfortable with. Shoot what you want. We pick on Ed for his gun choices, but we only pick on him. We're not like going to ostracize him because he doesn't shoot a Glock. Although, didn't you win one at a recent event?
I don't want to talk about that. That was a fluke. Pretty sure I gave that Glock away. But yeah, guys, this is a time-tested, time-honored platform with Glock. Our boys, here in Rochester, New York, actually carry Glock 21s as well, by personal choice. So yeah, you cannot.
Why not, right?
With the Glock 21.
Yeah, and the Glock 21 platform's been out for quite a while. It came out pretty early on. And it's been circulating and it's been out there. In fact, if it's not out yet, I know the Gen 6 Glock 21s are going to be coming soon.
Yeah, I don't think they're out yet. But
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be going away, anytime soon. So
No.
yeah.
Well, Ed, I'm going to let you introduce the next one.
Yes. So the number 2 gun on our list, guys, big surprise, is going to be the 1911.
For 1911 45 ACP, 7-round capacity.
And boy, oh boy, is this really should be number 1, I would say. Just for sheer popularity, the time and true tested, military law enforcement history behind it. The expression, if you can't beat them, join them kind of thing. How many companies make some type of replica of the original, Browning 1911?
Well, I looked it up.
Yeah.
There's a minimum of 44 that are officially listed as manufacturing 1911 style pistols.
We really need to get one more company just to say there's
45, right?
companies.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot more. The list that I searched said these are the ones that are officially have either made them or are currently making them. The issue is the design and the platform it's pretty much an open source by now.
Yeah.
So there are manufacturers that are just making them, and they're, probably smaller ones that are just, they don't make the list. The last I heard, there are probably near 1 to 200 or more manufacturers making 1911 style platforms.
Yeah.
And I even think that number is probably low.
And the original 1911, all steel, all metal. Again, this was a military contract that originally, adopted, the 1911 as a secondary firearm.
Yep.
And you got to think about all the things that it was required to do. It had to take down enemy combatants that were wearing armor, or it had to pierce through metal or helmets. It had to be used as a blunt force object. It had to be used in all sorts of conditions, whether it was wet or frozen solid or covered in mud. And just as with every other handgun that was adopted for military use, you can imagine the complaints, that also came with it. Think about the SIGs, think about the Beretta 92s, think about every other handgun. But at the same time, it was a constantly evolving, kind of progression for this firearm. Think about all the modern companies that still make them. Now we have polymer 45s. We have carry size 45s. We have pocket size 45s. We have 45s that now have integrated rails, sights, plate systems, all kinds of things. It's a competition gun.
Yeah,
Very popular competition.
And we have 1911s that shoot 9mm, and 38 Super, and a whole bunch of other cartridges.
2011, 2311 platforms. So
those, the platform has basically it's expanded into a lot of other things instead of just being that 45 caliber niche.
Yeah.
Here's a fun tidbit. Okay, some people might have known this, but the sewing machine Singer. In the early days, made 500 of these under contract for the military.
Get out.
Yeah, the sewing machine place. Another one, Union Switch and Signal.
Okay.
Okay. Ithaca Gun Company was involved. Remington Rand. It's interesting because back then, if you had machinery to carve metal and to mill metal objects.
Yep.
You were given contracts, and you had to adapt to make guns and firearms and material for the war effort.
Yeah.
So it was kind of interesting. Here's another one I want to throw out there. This is one of the ones that I like I said, I knew, but it kind of slipped my memory until I read it again. In the original form or original issue type 1911s, they were actually created to be their own field armorer's kit. You could fully disassemble and reassemble the pistol, minus taking off the grip screws.
Okay.
With only the gun's own parts, no external tools.
Wow. Okay.
That was one of the things that was a wow factor for the military, because they're like, we don't have to have an armor in field.
Yeah.
And if the gun goes down, these guys can hide, and then they can break it apart and put it back together. And, if they have to replace a part, they can scavenge from one that probably isn't being used, or other stuff's broken, and they could put it in there and they could get up and running.
Jeez. Okay.
Yeah. Talk about an impressive thought design to say, you know what, we should include this in this.
Now I feel really spoiled for having like a barrel bushing wrench, and not having that thing come and like hit me in the eye, which, guys, if you haven't taken down a 1911 and had that happen to you at least once, it's bound to happen at some point.
You have to chase it under the workbench on the other side of the basement.
Yeah. So guys, number 1, number 2, Glock, 1911. 2 most popular 45 ACP platforms you will probably find out there.
Cool.
But moving right along to number 3, what else we got?
Well, let's take a look at the Walther PPQ 45.
Great gun.
Oh my God. I've shot this one.
Okay.
And it was interesting because I was thinking it's going to be a big fat sucker, but it wasn't. It actually fit my hand pretty well.
Yeah.
And the cool thing was, it had a little bonus in there. We talked about the Glock a little bit ago. That thing carried 13 rounds in the magazine, but in states like ours, 10. But it was designed to carry 13. In the Walther, you're still up to 12.
Yeah.
So you've got a couple extra really big BBs in the magazine. All right. So if you need more, you got more. But the ergonomics I found were really good.
Yeah. Walther's kind of known for having great ergonomics, great frames, for their guns. And the PP platform is not, again, something new. It originally, like, other guns, came out of World War II. I believe, when they first made their PP platform, then it evolved into the PPQ, and now we're up to the PDP.
Yeah.
Yep. So the PPQ 45 that Walther came was right at the tail end when they're phasing out the PPQ and going to PDP. So we were all already talking about, grip angles changing. We're talking about a bigger beaver tail. We're talking about making it optics ready. Like all those things were in Walther's minds, and then they released the PPQ 45. We're like, you know what? This is going to be one last hurrah before we go to the PDP platform.
Yeah, let's drop this on our way out, right?
I will say, German manufacturing when it comes to firearms is no joke, and Walther's no exception.
Yeah, they do well.
I know of your past fondness for the German varietals.
If you can get over the fact that the original German Walthers still do have the little pedal magazine release. So you're actuating that, with maybe your index finger, or it works on both sides. I kind of like it.
I don't mind it because when I was shooting it, I could just take my finger and I can just push down on it, or I can pull down on it.
Yep.
And I'm able to sweep the magazine out. I'm getting the magazine out a lot more efficiently.
Yeah.
So the paddle release was actually kind of cool.
If you have smaller hands as well, and you're talking about a 45 with a big chunky, kind of grip, you usually don't have to adjust your grip at all in order to actuate that magazine release. So a little bonus there.
Right. Yeah, that was pretty good. You don't have to, you can maintain that master grip, and all you got to do is just shift something, and you're ready to go.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
So
the
guys,
Walther PPQ 45.
Our number 3 choice for 45 personal defense.
Yeah.
So staying with the kind of German theme, right?
Yeah.
What's our number 4?
The number 4, this is one that I actually like this gun.
Okay.
And I think Matt has a version of this.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
What is it?
The Sig Sauer P220, one of the classic line guns.
220. Okay.
220. It's the size of their 226, but in 45.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a full-size duty level pistol. Okay. This thing came out in 1975, and it was one of the first double-action, single-action guns.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
So they kept, the Sig Sauer Classic line, they kept the operation of it.
Yep.
So that the platform was the same, and all it was a caliber change.
So why mess with something that already works?
Well, yeah. Sig, simple is good, right? One of the drawbacks, though, you lost a little because they kept the grip really slim.
Oh, single stack, right?
They went single stack, yeah. So you only had 8 rounds in the mag on that one. It's a hammer fired gun. Okay, so decockers, single action, double action. But lately, it had a little bit of a resurgence when Sig brought out their Legion line.
Yeah.
And had I thought about it, I recently was able to obtain a 320 Legion, which is a beautiful gun. Had I thought about it, I might have paid the upgrade or the difference and maybe gotten one of the 226 Legions, because that would have brought me back to the classic line, which I really, really like. But I didn't think about it.
I do have a 226 Legion, and it is worth every bit. Guys, if you don't know, the Legion series is kind of known for better ergonomics, for its proprietary Legion trigger, as well as having that really cool kind of little Spartan logo right on the grip at a challenge coin that comes. Okay, so taking over. But really, guys, the 220 even before the Legion. It was kind of one of those guns when law enforcement military was transitioning out of the 1911 and its single action only, and people wanted something with a slightly heavier trigger, and they wanted alternative that was not just going to be a Beretta 92, something like that. And the SIG, offered a great alternative to that, and it's still available to this.
Oh yeah. And the one thing they liked is because it was actually smoother than some of the other options out there.
Smooth like butter.
Yeah. It operated smoother. The trigger was better. The slide action and the slide to frame mating was just better. It was still loose enough for duty level, but it was inherently a lot more accurate.
Yeah.
Instead of 4 mounting points, you had 2 long rails. And the system itself just lent to an easier transition into safe operation, decocking, getting it into the fight and out of the fight kind of stuff. What's next, Dad? I'll let you do the next one.
So we're gonna come back to America for this one.
Okay.
Very well-known manufacturer, Smith & Wesson.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Everybody knows their M&P line, their military and police M&P. And they decided to take a run at 45 ACP. And guess what? They decided to make the Smith & Wesson M&P 45. Single stack, 7+1, just like the 1911.
Okay.
And basically they took a already good gun, the M&P 9.
Oh yeah.
And they kind of just scaled it up to, a bigger adult size. Really familiar platform, M&P great series, and they just made it bigger.
Right.
You have the Smith & Wesson, reliability, the ergos, and it doesn't have what I would say, it wasn't plagued with all the finicky things that, certain parts of the Shield line are kind of known for. No grip safety, no manual safety, no all kinds of you have to actuate your hands a certain way, anything like that.
Yeah, they took some of the difficulty factor out of it.
Yeah.
And plus, in that size gun, again, it's a polymer gun. Okay. Hardened steel slide, polymer gun combo, that made for a very good shooter.
Yeah.
Okay. I've put, I'd say a couple hundred rounds through one of them, and I was like, hey, this is actually not bad.
Yeah.
Actually not bad. When the Smith & Wesson first came out with their M&Ps, I wasn't very impressed with them.
No?
Well, they were riding the wave off of the VP9 or whatever they called it. The Sigma. That's right.
Oh, okay.
They were riding off the Sigma, which was, I know we probably shouldn't talk about that because I'm having weird flashbacks. But, when the M&P came out, it was post Sigma.
Yeah.
So there was some skepticism.
I remember hearing something about that, hence why they came out with the M&P 2.0 series, which seemed to be miles, better than the original M&P line.
Yeah, so that was pretty good. They actually did. And actually in 2007, the M&P line, specifically the 45, won Handgun of the Year from American Handgunner.
Oh, that's cool.
So that was kind of we've made it. Right? It's like this magazine, known to be very, very good for a good resource for gun owners, said this gun's the handgun of the year. So that put a nice blue ribbon right on that sucker. And if I remember correctly, sales went through the roof on the M&P series right about then. So good. That was good on them. They actually came through and produced a decent product.
So guys, if you're looking for something familiar and you have been shooting a lot of Smith & Wesson guns, and you're looking for a striker fire in 45 ACP, no further than the M&P 45. So that is our top 5 guns as far as best 45 ACP platforms for home defense. We do have a couple of honorable mentions.
Yeah, it's tough to keep a list down to just 5, right?
Yeah.
Because somebody's butt's going to get hurt about it. Somebody's going to have their favorite 45. So let's throw 3 more out there.
Okay.
All right. First one, the FNX 45 Tactical.
I see he has chosen the FN 545, the pinnacle platform for this cartridge, and perhaps the ultimate 45 striker-fired pistol. And it is the perfect suppressor, host, because the loudest sound you hear when you suppress a 45 is the quarter-ton of impact downrange.
Gotta have the tactical.
Okay, so it's basically from Fabrique Nationale. It's their X45 Tactical. What's the cool thing about this one?
This has one of the highest capacities that you will ever see for a 45 platform gun without having a stupidly long extendo mag, you know, that sticks out of your waistband. The FNX, I believe, carries 15 plus 1 in the chamber in its tactical model.
So there's a drawback to that, right? 45s aren't very light bullets.
No.
So you're going to need a good holster and a good system to support that.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But they had, oh my God, they came with so many options. You know, they named it tactical for a reason, right? Mm-hmm. Just because, not because it was black and cool. It's tactical. You could accessorize this thing so easily. And they actually, it actually evolved from an earlier model, the FNP 45.
Yeah.
Okay, which was developed for the U.S. Joint Combat Pistol Program. Mm-hmm. So they took what that was and they made it a little more better. And then they added some fun stuff like a threaded barrel for those that could get suppressors on it. It came pre-optic ready. So it was ready to go and put your favorite accessories on that thing. And people loved it.
Yeah. Tried and true FN from Belgium. And it came with all the things that you would want in a military 45 at that time. It had the requirement for a manual safety. It had a large caliber. It had, you know, hammer firing mechanism, you know, to it. So again, take something that's military, tried and true, and turn it into civilian market.
Yeah.
That's what you get.
Cool. All right, next up.
Heading back to Germany, land of guns and very good gun manufacturers. Someone would be butthurt if we didn't mention the H&K platform, specifically their 45, their USP, and I'll even throw the Mark 23 in there because they're all 45 caliber platforms.
Yep.
Great, fantastic guns. I have a USP, still classic, not even optics ready, 12 plus 1 capacity, and yes, it is a hammer fired, double action, single action, got a decocker, got a manual safety. Beautiful gun.
Yeah. I love how they decided how they're going to mitigate the recoil.
Yeah?
Dual recoil springs in there.
I don't even know what that means.
It means there's a recoil spring in the middle. No, it's not two side by side like the KSG. It's kind of like what Glock did with a couple of their series. They have an outer larger spring for the initial hit, which mitigates a lot of the recoil. And then they have an inner spring inside the outer spring with a sleeve that helps more recoil mitigation, but also gets that slide back into position faster.
I don't know how many times I've taken my USB apart and never gave that a second thought. I don't know. That is really cool.
Other than the obvious, what is wrong with you?
Yeah. So again, makes for a really soft shooting gun.
Oh yeah.
Really flat. Getting those sights back on target.
Yep.
So,
and the other thing, it's got kind of like the Walther did. It's got a paddle setup for a magazine release.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So they actually borrowed that idea. Mm-hmm. The other thing about these things is these suckers they just run. Mm-hmm. They are reliable. They're durable, and they shoot nice.
No.
It's not a harsh recoil. It's just because of that, the way they built the recoil spring to mitigate the recoil, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's a pleasant gun to shoot.
HK. It's probably in the top 5 most well-known firearms manufacturers in the world, guys. So
Oh yeah.
you are talking about, again, a time-tested company, who backs up, their reputation with these guns. And the 45, the USP, the Mark 23, no different.
Yeah.
No different.
Yeah. So this last gun is the only one I have not shot. I've shot the platform in other calibers.
Yep.
But I have not shot their 45.
Yeah.
It's the CZ97.
Yes.
CZ pistols, I tell you, are beautiful. They're just beautiful. The 75B, it's just that I had one that was made by Tanfoglio and imported by IWI into Florida for the U.S. And it was what was it, EWA Witness or something like that they called it? Yeah. And it was a whole blend of different manufacturers so they could get it into the U.S.
Yeah.
So they had a bunch of names on it. But essentially, it was a CZ platform gun. And out of the guns that I regret selling that one. But it was early on in my gun collection career, and I wanted to upgrade my collection a little bit. And that one, I sold that one, and I've since picked up. I've got 2 CZs in my arsenal now, but they're full size CZs. One's a pretty beat up blue one that I'm going to have redone, and then the other one's just nice.
Yeah,
it's just nice, but I have not shot the 45.
So the 97 is a beautiful, beautiful flat shooting gun, especially because it has the full rail kind of system to it.
And the rail system goes on the outside and it hooks into the slide instead of the slide going around. It's just, when I first saw that, I was like, wow, that's different, but it made a huge difference.
Yeah. It is not a small gun.
No.
It's not a light gun either. You're talking about a full steel size gun, full-sized gun in 45 ACP. And the CZ75 platform is just as well known in the world like the 1911 is in the US. We have a ton of different manufacturers creating it. But when they made the 97 and scaled it up to 45 ACP, like, this was a full-size big boy gun. And it is a very, very flat shooter. I was lucky to go to a gun club out in New Mexico or Texas, and they happen to have this in their shop for
Gotta give it a try.
And I gotta say, it feels just like a CZ75 as far as the ergonomics and the shootability of the gun. Unfortunately, they were discontinued. I don't know if that's because of, the preference for 9 over 45 ACP, or it just didn't make as big a splash, in the worldwide market outside of the US. But they are out there, guys, and if you can get your hands on one, excellent platform.
They only discontinued it like 4 years ago, back in 22. So guess what? There's probably, they're probably still in the pipeline.
Yep.
In some places too. So you can probably find one. So yeah, that's, maybe I should have to go find somewhere that has a 97 and just give it a try so I can get all of our list on my
100%.
Yeah. So gang, we've got some extra little tidbits about the 1911. It's kind of, I don't know. I just started going down some rabbit holes and started looking at things. I actually found a list of all the companies that officially listed as manufacturing 1911 style guns. And, we can post a list of that or a link to that. But my brain went to, I wonder how many 1911s were made.
Yeah.
If there's a way to find out, right? Because, again, we can only guess based on some numbers. But I also was able to break it down by time frame.
Okay.
So in World War I, up to 1918, they made 643,000 of these things.
Oh, my goodness.
Right? So 643,000 before 1918. So between 1919 and 1941, they call it the interwar period. They made about 100,000.
Which is kind of nuts, considering I bet they had a surplus after World War I.
I'm sure. And there's probably a lot of them that have just been buried underground, and they're just rotted away and disappeared, dropped on the battlefield. There's probably so many out there we'll never find them again.
Yeah.
Right?
Little piece of history.
Then, come World War II, they ramped it up. 1.9 million were made in the World War II era.
If that isn't the best advertisement or testament for a single firearm platform ever,
it's impressive.
I don't know what is.
It's impressive. Now, this is actually really cool, right? So in the Korean War era, Ed, guess how many were made in the Korean War era?
Well, we're going up in scale, so I'm going to say 2 million. Did we break 2 million?
Zero.
No.
Zero. You know why? They reissued existing surplus and they repaired ones that were broken and put them into service because they had a surplus of them. They're like, we don't need to make any more. Let's put them out there. Zero.
Okay.
Okay.
I thought you were going to say something like Korea had, an import
5 million
tax, or like, like we're just not taking them,
Yeah.
But, wow.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah, right. Okay. So we're in Vietnam.
Okay.
Right. Guess how many were made in the Vietnam era? Zero. Because they did the same thing from Korea.
Oh my God.
They still had a surplus.
Okay.
So in the Vietnam era, they were using pistols that were made around 1940, 1941, and then a little bit beyond. During World War II, they were still using pistols that were made in Korea and Vietnam.
Well, when you have already achieved perfection in 1911, as opposed
Why
to
change it, right?
Chasing perfection with other gun manufacturers, no names mentioned. And you have made what, close to 3 million, between World War I and World War II.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot. Now, obviously, there had to be some attrition. Guns were broken, guns were ruined, guns were damaged,
guns were lost
or taken, and then they've just gone off on their own. But still, that's a lot of guns. Sure. That's a lot of that model, right?
Yeah.
So the estimate, even in continuing manufacturing, like other spin-ups for other purposes in the military, about 2.7 million.
Wow.
Were made during the war eras. 2.7 million, maybe 3. And again, guys, these are estimates. These are just what we could find, or what I could find, actually. Now, the estimate of all the civilian models, okay, for our use, and I think they might have lumped in law enforcement, anywhere from 4.8 to 8.6 million.
Wow. Just of the 1911.
Yeah. That is a lot of pistols.
Even if we were to take the median of those, and just say like 5-6 million.
Yeah, 6.5 maybe. Yeah, that's still a lot.
Well, you also got to keep in mind, Dave, there are some kooks out there who definitely own 1, 2, 5,
quite a few.
11s.
Yeah.
So.
And you think about it. Okay, if we look at the original U.S. military contractors, right? World War I, World War II, okay? Colt.
Yep.
Obviously, right? Remington. And under the Remington UMC.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Springfield Armory, Remington Rand, Ithaca Gun Company, Union Switch and Signal, Singer Sewing Machine, we talked about earlier. Okay. There was actually there was a location here in Rochester that actually made military arms too.
Oh.
General Railway Signal. Way back when.
Never heard of it.
Yep. Way back when. Right now it's a conglomeration of artisan works and other stuff. So some other ones that produced them, Savage Arms, Winchester, National Cash Register, Burroughs Adding Machine, Lanson Monotype, North American Arms from Canada, Caron Brothers out of Canada.
I never even heard of, some of these.
Yeah.
But I hear companies like, Cash Register Co. or Adding Machine Co. And I'm like, wow, we really geared up, in order to kind of support during interwar and during war.
That's why we were able to make 1.9 million in World War II.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of modern ones, right? Colt's still active. Springfield Armory's still in there. You got Kimber. Okay, makes a really good gun, really tight tolerances. That's like your high maintenance, like your midlife crisis car that you have to do all the maintenance on all the time.
Sure do.
Okay. Dan Wilson Combat, a pretty big name in customized. Nighthawk Custom, Les Bear, Ed Brown, Rock Island Armory, Ruger has a 1911 series. Okay. Smith & Wesson does. Sauer does. Bear Creek Arsenal. And there's a whole bunch of other ones. Magnum Research, Staccato.
Yeah.
Right? And then there's some smaller ones. There used to be one that I was pretty familiar with, Para Ordnance.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful.
They had wide body.
Beautiful.
Then they've gotten absorbed by other companies. Norinco made 1911s.
Oh,
Chinese manufacturer.
I was going to say, known for their knockoff M4s and AK platforms and things like that. So
there have been some Turkish manufacturers that made 1911 platforms. Arms Corps out of the Philippines. So there's a bunch of people out there that just, and here's one that I remember from hanging around and shooting, the USPSA and IDPA days.
Here we go, the big
Caspian Arms.
Yep.
Those were big guns back then.
I was gonna ask when you started, getting into the more expensive 1911 companies like Caspian, Atlas Gunworks.
Yes.
Huge.
Yeah.
Bull Armory, another big name. Like these are ones where we're absolutely talking about competition level 1911s. We're no longer in those kind of loosey goosey, all conditions, firing ones. We're talking about extremely tight tolerances, not a whole lot of wiggle room either in the gun or in the slide or in the springs. Like these are purpose driven machines. Designed for a single purpose, to put rounds very, very accurately on target.
Yeah. Instead of being a utilitarian gun, a lot of them have become a competition gun and for accuracy.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It was a pretty good trip when I started digging into this. I had some time today, and I'm like, let me just rabbit hole this topic for a little bit, guys. Again, we pick on each other. I am not 1911 averse. I just carry Glocks because I carry Glocks. It's what I do. But if somebody told me, hey, you got to carry 1911, okay, give me a few minutes to get reacquainted, I'm good. I'll do it. I'll not in a heartbeat. I will do it. In fact, I am kind of casually on the hunt for a 2011 style, the 9mm version of the 2011 platform, just because. Why not?
Sure.
But I'm not like doing research every day. I'm just like, if I stumble across one and I recognize the brand and I'm comfortable with it, I'll probably pick it up.
He really is doing research every day. We know.
No, I'm not. This is the most research I've done in a couple of weeks, other than tires for my truck. So how about this? Let's put something on you guys. What facts, not just rumor, not just what you think, but facts, do you know about the 1911 platform or 45s in general? It doesn't have to be just the 1911, but what do you want to share? And we may ask you to prove it, so be ready. We don't want to have a lot of rumor floating around there like, oh, I heard this, or, I was told this. Do some digging.
Yeah, I'm actually just going to be trolling the comment section for all the 1911 tropes and 45 ACP tropes that I'm sure are going to be posted on for this. But guys, we hope you enjoyed the episode. And again, something different than your standard 9mm, because we did get asked, like, hey, what do you recommend for 45 ACP guns? If you want to shoot bigger and badder.
You guys suggest stuff, we'll dig into it. So if you've got some ideas on some other episodes that you'd like to see us do, give us a shout. Put it in the comments. Message us.
Before you go, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, check out our Patreon, join as a free member, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.